Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Anxiety Project podcast number 7. My name is Brad Robinson, and today I got a really important podcast for you. It is about negative thinking patterns that have been ingrained and trained in your brain for 10 years or for your whole life or for how long. It's going to be a challenge to get rid of it, but you can if you stay committed, okay? For me, this pattern kind of goes back when I was a kid, so it was very difficult for me to get rid of it. It was very difficult. I didn't know how to go about it, and I needed somebody in my life that can help me. A role model. Somebody to look up to and guide me in the right direction. So, how do you get rid of this pattern? This pattern can include past experiences that you're thinking about that went wrong, going over it and over it again in your head, or it could be about thoughts about getting angry at people, thoughts about like getting violent with somebody because they criticize you in a wrong way, or it could be about an embarrassing moment, or it could be about a future event happening and you thinking about it in a negative way. And all of this stuff, just negative thinking, can make you think like, oh, I'm crazy, why am I thinking this way? Or, like, I don't want to think this anymore. And then you start thinking about it again. Well, I just told myself I didn't want to think about it, and here I am thinking about it again. What the heck? It just doesn't go away. It's because you're giving it emotion. You're giving it emotion. You're letting it really affect you. Okay? So you might want to write this stuff down. It's really important. I'm just going to give you a list of things that you can do to get rid of negative thinking and things that I've done. And think about it. I've struggled with that for a long time. And if I can do it, you can do it, but you got to stay committed. It's really important. And it's also about taming that DMN, the default mode network. It's that default mode where you just like letting all those thoughts just come into your head, and you just you're reacting to it emotionally, and you feel like you're in a default mode. You're not really in control of what's entering your brain. Like the guard at the gates is not doing its job. He's asleep, and all of this information is going right through that guard, and it's affecting you. So how do you get that control? Because to tell you right now, I have so much control over what comes into my brain that when I notice a negative thought or like something that's angering me, I notice it right away and I can change it. But it takes time, and that's why I'm here to help you guys, okay? So, when I first wanted to get rid of that negative thinking pattern, I used an elastic band, okay? I talked about this on my blog post at unpluganxiety.com. And what I'm talking about is you wear an elastic band on your wrist and you go about your day, your weeks, even your months. Keep it on there. And you got to recognize when that negative thought comes in. You're thinking, it's like, oh, there's that thought. And you slap that elastic band. And what happens is you notice a little bit of pain or whatever, the hit of the band against your skin. And then you can start thinking, you hit the band, and then you replace that thought, that negative thought, with a different thought. Okay? So you recognize this thought. It's all about recognizing the thought, okay? First of all. So you slap the band, you recognize that you have that negative thought, and then you can replace it, and you keep doing that. I remember I wore that band at work all around, and I was just determined. And you got to be determined too in order to get change. You got to want it as much as I wanted it. Okay, so you slap the band, and then you can replace that negative thought with something else, and you keep doing that over and over again. And the reason why, here's the thing, the brain doesn't understand don'ts, okay? It doesn't understand don'ts, or want, if you're like, I don't want to think that thought, and then you think about that thought again, like, and you keep thinking about it, because your brain doesn't understand don'ts. What's going on is you're giving that thought attention, okay? You're giving it emotion. That negative thought, you're giving it emotion, it's going to come back, okay? Start using different languages, such as, I want to gain control over my negative thinking. I want to get to a higher place in my life. I want to only look at the positives rather than the negatives. So you got to use different languages when you're talking to yourself, okay? It's all about the language that you're giving to yourself, and then, change will come about, okay? Because I didn't understand why I was giving my thoughts, my negative thoughts, too much emotion, and I was letting it affect me. Because you ever get that feeling when you think about negative thoughts, you get like a body zap, or you get, or you just like, or you just, your whole facial demeanor changes. Like you start like looking internally, like what, like, why am I thinking that? Or like, that's horrible. Or like, you can feel your whole emotional part, the whole emotional party just like change when you're just thinking about that thought that you just don't want to think about. So it's all about getting to a place where you have control over what's coming into your head, and you can start looking at things differently, okay? And there's also a technique that I learned where you can start focusing your mind on the external world rather than the internal world. Okay? So the internal world is where you're ruminating over past events and your negative thinking and stuff. There's an exercise where you write down on a piece of paper the negative thought, and you circle it, and from that circled negative thought, you branch out in like a tree of how it makes you feel. So write down, it makes me feel disconnected. It makes me feel anxious. It makes me feel, like all of these feelings, branch it out. So this exercise, that's part one of the exercise. You branch it out, and makes me feel disconnected. It makes me feel, like I get body zaps, or like I feel sad and all this kind of stuff, the negative thought you're thinking. And then flip the page over and keep it flipped, but grab an item that's around you and hold it in your hands. I sometimes use like a pen or something when I'm doing this. I sit there and sit with that pen for a minute and not think about anything else, but look at the pen and feel the pen and describe to yourself how it feels and what it looks like, and how and what your body feels right now, or like the ground is cold under my toes, or like this pen feels really smooth. What's this writing on it? And just focus all of your attention on the item that you're holding in the surrounding area around you. Just recognize what is going on around you for a minute. And then on that other side of that paper, after that minute is over, write down the same negative thought and branch out the same how you feel. And I guarantee you that you won't think of much, like you won't write down as many things as you did before, because what's happening is you're so disconnected from your internal self and all those feelings that you're not going to write down as much symptoms as you did on the other side of that paper. And this is a great exercise that I learned, and now I'm going to bring it on to you guys, and it's fantastic. So this helps get yourself internally to externally into the moment, and it just gets you to a better place. Okay, gets you it makes yourself in more control than you were before. And that's all it's about, control, self-control. It's about being the warrior you're meant to be. It's about getting to a place where you are emotionally neutral. And so you can accept and reject these thoughts. Let me just take a little break here. I'm going to sip on some of my jasmine green tea. It's so good. So, also another technique I use, probably as much as the elastic band, was I reject that thought, that line. That line I used so much. The thought would come in, I would recognize it, and then I would say, I reject that thought. Not out loud, but in my head, I reject that thought. Because that thought is not doing me any good. There's no evidence behind that thought. There's no reason why I should give that thought any emotion. It's not going to do me any good. I reject that thought. I replace it with another thought. And that's it. That line I used. And that's another one. Another technique I used was journaling. Write down in the morning the negative thoughts. When you wake up in the morning, write them all down. Sensations you feel. I hope this doesn't go wrong today. I hope this doesn't go wrong today. I hope this doesn't go wrong today. Write it all down. Get it out of your body. Get it onto the paper. See it on the paper. This is so powerful. You don't realize how powerful this is. You get it onto paper. Okay? And then you scrumple it up and you throw it in the garbage. Do you understand what that does to you? It's like you're getting rid of bad energy, bad thoughts, and it's going away. You throw it in the garbage, you see it gone. You might think it's kind of silly, but you're getting rid of all of that stuff from you. You see it, you write it down, and you see it gone. Also, start writing down everything you're excited about for the day. Everything you're excited about. Okay, write it down on paper. And then you could you write everything you're excited about, and then write down daily goals. This is what I want to feel today, like a daily goal. Like I want to improve my posture today, or my breathing, or focus in on my breathing today. So I always put a goal down. A goal. I want to read this much of my book today. I want to, listen to 2 podcasts today and implement a technique. Something that is going to get you to that better place. and your body's going to thank you for it. And change is not easy. Your body's going to go through hard times, okay? When I went through this change, my body was like, what the heck are you doing? Emotional pain came about, and it was difficult, but you have to stay with it because the change is important, and the change will benefit you for the rest of your life. Because if a snake doesn't shed its skin properly, it dies. So think about it in people. If we don't change, we're just going to keep on suffering, and eventually we'll die, right? Because we're just holding in emotional pain, and if we don't change our old ways, then we're just not going to get to that. We're just not going to just get to a better place in our lives. Like, don't you want to challenge yourself? Don't you want to get to a higher place and feel differently, and you'll end up looking differently, and you'll attract different people and positive energy in your life? Because when I started thinking differently, looking differently, and meditating on positive energy, positive things came about in my life because I'm attracting that positivity. It's the law of attraction. It really works because I started thinking about more of the positives. I started thinking about what I really wanted, who I want to hang around, and I started reading more, and I started giving back to my body, and I started meeting new people, and I started engaging in conversations, and exciting conversations, and joking with people. And I started just that all of that came about because of the change. And you got to want it, you got to stick with it, and you got to set 3 months to 5 months. I gave myself 5 months of commitment, and I signed a what's it called? I don't even know what it's called. It's contract. I signed a contract. I put it on my bedroom wall. I'm going to give myself 3 to 5 months, and I'm of committing to change, completely getting rid of my bad habits and implementing new habits, and implementing new role models, and implementing the elastic band, and implementing meditation and yoga, and stretching in the morning, and tea instead of coffee, and salads, fruits, everything. So that's where I'm going to leave you with today, guys. I hope this podcast has helped you in some way. Write this stuff down. Start getting to a better place in your life. It's so rewarding, and I just can't, I just can't express how much I feel when I went through all of that change, and now where I can actually talk to you guys and give you some awesome advice and help you guys get to a better place. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.